Hello, MotorsportReg organizers. This is Tim from the MotorsportReg success team. This will be an entry level guide to using validation rules within MotorsportReg. Validation rules are the tool that we use to enforce a choice or requirement within a registration. They check the eligibility at the time that an attendee hits that proceed to checkout button at the bottom, and they can be tested live within the form builder itself, but also using test registrations as well. Let's dive into it. So, where I'd suggest starting first would be our support website, which is support.motorsportreg.com. And if you go in here, these will all be found within the event setup and basic settings section. But also, if you search validation as well, that's going to give you all the topics that are very similar to what we're working on here. Like this one, how to require a date of birth. It'll walk you through how to set those up, or say this article on the new form builder with validation rules gives you the full list of all the ones that are currently in our database and how you can use those accordingly. Little check boxes off to the right tell you what kind of pieces you can put those on. Collection being like the pick one versus pick many versus an event question versus a product, which would be like which racing class am I choosing for this event. So let's take a look at some scenarios. If we go back over to motorsportreg.com, I do have this annual membership event going right here. So let's say the first one that I want to do is if you're renewing a membership with us, that you have to be a current member in order to do that. And any of the validation rules, that's what will be indicated by the little red push pins here in the form layout. So if we look at this one that I set up already, this is checking for membership is valid as of date. If you use the little drop down menu here, this will give you all the choices that you have on this specific piece as far as validation rules go. In this case, I'm looking at the membership validation here, which I use this one valid as of date to look at a specific date. For this club, the memberships range from January 1st of the year through December 31st. There are some quirks with some of the credentials that they issue for December 30th. So, just to be safe, I'm going to look at that specific date. And the bottom of a validation rule here is a simple if then statement. I like to take a step back when I'm setting these up to think about what do I want to happen. And in this case, if somebody is a member, if they are truly a member, then what do I want to happen? Versus in this case, if they're not a member, then what do I want them to have to do? So in this case, if false, if they're not a member, then I want to require them to purchase a new membership on here. So we'll add just a little bit of help text to this one. So now let's test it out on our form builder here since this is dynamic. So I've only set up a validation rule on the renewal memberships. I shouldn't have any problem purchasing a new one. And I do have the same credential piece applied to all three of these, regardless of which price point they choose. So you'll get the same membership regardless. The validation rules will just direct you to the correct piece. So, as anticipated, shouldn't have any problems getting to checkout to purchase a new one. But let's take a look if we do try the renewal membership here. If we check that one off, this one does have the rule set up on it, and my account does not have a membership to my knowledge right now. So it should give me the rule flashing up on there. And there we go. We did get our red banner, which is the indication of a validation rule firing off and preventing somebody from doing something that they shouldn't be allowed to do within your registration. So this is where that if then statement comes in. Since this one is membership related, it gives you this edit profile button where you could go in theory, change your membership number and then try again. We do have some clubs that we do live API calls to their database for larger national organizations. So that's why that lives in there. But otherwise, it will enforce they do have to choose, say, this new membership instead. And then it lets you through like I'd anticipate. So right now, since we haven't set up a validation rule on the early membership, I should be able to choose that as well. And let's see, looks like that one is also giving me the same thing. Ah, okay, I know what this is doing. So what this is doing here, if this validation rule is set up on one of these pieces, it's going to apply to all of them. So that'll actually kind of secretly do what I wanted it to, that if they're not a member, it'll make them choose a new membership in this case, versus that early renewal. If you do have an active membership, it should work a-okay. And I do actually have a test example for that. So let's go over to the registrations and we'll add a manual entry to this one. So this is the other way they can test these out. And I do have two accounts that I was working with. Fast Freddy does not have a current membership, whereas this Lincoln Locker person does. So let's use that example. And if I go in, I should be able to purchase that early renewal membership here for the Lincoln Locker. And there we go. That worked a-okay and extends out their membership for another season on this one. Whereas if I go to do the same thing for Fast Freddy, I should get an error. And there we go. Well, Fast Freddy is not a current member, so they'll have to purchase a new one on this event. And there we go. That worked exactly as I had intended for that one. So we do not have that Rogue Racing annual membership for Fast Freddy. So let's go see what happens if we want that person to register for an event. So let me cancel this to have my control here. There we go. So I have a 2025 event set up for the Dairyland Track Weekend #1. So let's go in here and take a look at the rules that I want to set up. I'll do that on the group here. So let's say that this is an event that you have to be a member in order to register. But I do have a membership piece within the registration. So if they're not a member, I just want them to have to choose one during registration. So I'm going to use this first rule. Membership is valid during that registration. And if they're not, then let's require that they also choose the membership down here. So we should be able to test that here in the preview as well. Just choose a car, class, yada yada. And there we go. So since that membership is required, if my profile is not an active member, it will require you to choose this annual membership as well during the process. There we go. So that does successfully get me to checkout. So let's use it for our two test examples as well now. We'll go in here for our manual entry. And we'll use Lincoln Locker, who should get through without having to purchase a membership for this track day. All right. And there we go. Since the does have an active membership for the Lincoln Locker profile, it shows that it's not available since it is currently valid through the next year. So that sounds correct. There we go. So no problems getting through registration for that one. So let's have an example where it should get blocked because there's no current membership. We used Fast Freddy for that. And track day registration. And let's be a bandit and try and get by without purchasing a membership. And there we go. Our validation rule works successfully and does require that if they're going to enter this event that they do need to have a membership. If it does have a validation rule that's a little bit more vague here, I would recommend adding that little bit of help text at the bottom just to help guide people to what they need to do in order to complete that. That will give them kind of the basics that say that they also need to select the annual membership, but a little bit of additional information is always helpful for that. So we'll check this off, and that should allow Fast Freddy to register. And there we go. And that did work successfully. It will work the same way if you do it from the attendee side as well with these test accounts and give you that scenario for purchasing registration with the membership together. But if you do have any further questions, feel free to reach out to our team. Our email is support@motorsportreg.com, and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. But do let us know what other videos you'd like to see and if you'd like to dive into validation rules further. Have a good one.